Good morning, everyone. We're waiting for everyone to join us. You should be able to see our speakers on the right-hand side and the presentation on the left-hand side. Again, about 3 more minutes and we'll be ready to start.
That's where Jessica. She did it for me.
Okay. So
Good morning, everyone. We're just waiting a couple more minutes for people to join us and we'll be starting soon. All right, man, I think that we've got everybody that's going to be here. We have approximately 35 participants in this industry forum. And I'd like to introduce Man Lee, who will be your host for today.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Twiggs Street Design Build Industry Forum. And thank you for joining us. As a note, this presentation will be on THEA's website by the end of business today on our procurement page. If you have any questions, please email them to me. The email will be given in this presentation, and that will be stated later also. By way of introductions, my name is Man Lee. I'm the THEA Contracts Procurement Manager. On the call, we also have Judith Villegas, the THEA Project Manager for this project. We have Sue Sharzan, Director of Public Affairs and Communications. We have Brian Ramirez, Planning Communications Assistant. We have Jim Drapp, the GEC Program Manager. Al Stewart, also GEC, and Dave Hubbard, our GEC. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jim. Thank you.
we're going to talk about our upcoming Twiggs design build project that we'll be advertising this Friday. The Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority is the developer of this project, but we also have the City of Tampa involved and DOT. Twiggs is a City of Tampa roadway and Nebraska is a DOT roadway. Other firms involved, HNTB as the GEC, THEA, who is our geotechnical consultant, Element, who is the survey consultant to us and THEA, and Omni, who is the utilities consultant to the GEC and THEA. Judith will serve as the THEA project manager, and I'll be the GEC project manager. Our agenda for today, we're going to cover the project overview and objectives, talk a little about public involvement, ATC's innovation, go over the written technical proposal and schedule, the Q&A session we'll be holding for the teams, how the scoring will be done, SBE, our design build stipend, who the TRC members will be for THEA and the technical advisors, And then we'll have information, as Man said, for getting questions to him. Going through the project overview, this will be the things that we'll be talking about as I go through. We'll start with the project limits. As shown in green is the project limits for this project from Twiggs Street from west of Nebraska over towards Meridian. The majority of the work will be from west of the railroad tracks that are west of Meridian to west of Nebraska. We also want you to be aware that THEA also has an ongoing PD&E study that is on Nebraska Avenue, which is set to begin shortly. So there may be survey crews and others out there involved on that project during your project. But as I said, the majority of the work is from west of the railroad tracks over towards Nebraska. The goals of this project, the city of Tampa did a study in this area because of some of the traffic operational and safety problems. So we're looking to improve the safety and the operational efficiency within this corridor. We want to minimize the inconvenience to the traveling public. The major part of this project is adding an additional lane on Twiggs in the westbound direction, so we'll have a third westbound lane. This is going to improve the traffic flow. We want to make sure that we minimize the number of traffic control plan phases. We have a couple of major facilities adjacent to the projects, which we'll talk about later. We need to maintain direct access to all the adjacent properties at all time. We need to coordinate with any adjacent construction projects or maintaining agencies. We've got the city, the DOT, and CSX will come into play. And we want to make sure we minimize the inconvenience to the adjacent railroad station that is on the north side of Twiggs and the charter school that is on the south side of Twiggs. Here's a look at the project, the roadway plans. As you can see, the roadway construction aspects are from Nebraska east. We'll be widening to the north side of the road. I have to do some adjustments to some drainage inlets to tie into the existing storm sewer system. You'll see that we'll make adjustments tying into the two driveways located there on the east end of this sheet. Also, you'll notice right at the east end of this sheet that we're closing off one of the driveways into Union Station. You'll see on this next sheet that the actions we're doing there, so that that will improve the traffic operation along Twiggs. So as you can see, we're stopping the curb work, the sidewalk work before we get to the railroad tracks. I want to point out one important item, that in working with the city of Tampa, we made some adjustments to where the sidewalks will be located. So as you can see, they're not all adjacent to the curb as in normal situations. On the north side, we'll be constructing a 15-foot sidewalk that will then tie into over towards Union Station. We will not continue a sidewalk along the north side of the road, as there is no pedestrian crossing over at Meridian, because that's the end of our reversible express lanes. And we want to direct all pedestrians to the south side of Twiggs to cross Meridian there, where we have crosswalk signals, etc. And you can see on the south side of Twiggs, the sidewalk will actually be off the curb and behind the bridge piers from Nebraska east to the westerly entrance to the school. Then it will transition up and that area, it's within THEA right away. And then it will transition up to adjacent to the back of curb in front of the school, but still a wider sidewalk that will be all the way, there'll be no grass strip. It'll be sidewalk from the back of curb to just inside the right-of-way line. And then that wider sidewalk will tie into the existing sidewalks on each side of the railroad tracks. You will also notice there'll be some reconfiguration of the parking lots, both on the north side of Twiggs, the entrance to Union Station, which is getting removed, and then on the south side of Twiggs, you'll see the parking lot there to the west end of the project, where there'll need to be some work in reconfiguring and restriping that parking lot to accommodate the wider sidewalk. For our traffic control plans, there will be no lane closures allowed along Twiggs between 6 and 9 a.m. and then also between 2 and 7 p.m. That longer hours in the afternoon is due to the school letting out. So these are on Monday through Friday. So on weekends, longer hours, closures will be allowed, and we'll work with the contractor potentially on non-school days to adjust that afternoon closure to allow more work hours. Any work at night, we need to make sure that we minimize the noise impacts because we do have residents to the east of the project along Meridian. As I mentioned earlier, the coordination with the school and Union Station. Public involvement for TCP, the design build team will need to constantly be providing information to THEA's communications team so they can get out information to the public on THEA's website for any lane closures or other major work efforts. A major item as part of this project is we have a joint project agreement, THEA does, with the Florida Department of Transportation. Part of the project is also putting in a new signals at Nebraska and Twiggs. The DOT is funding that as a project they had, that THEA is constructing that as part of this project. Part of that joint project agreement between THEA and DOT is you will need to have a DOT railroad clearance letter prior to beginning construction. There could also be railroad permits required due to the fact that the maintenance of traffic devices will probably need to be running across the railroad right away at the east end of the project, and potential that flagmen could be needed. We're also going to be lining the existing storm sewer pipe along the north side of Twiggs, and you'll need to do that between Nebraska and Meridian, the manholes there in those locations. So there will be work going on under the railroad. So the design build team will be responsible for any railroad permits required and for scheduling and paying for railroad flagmen if they are also required due to the operations that you're going to utilize. Drainage portions of the project, there'll be modifications to the curb inlets along the north side of the road, and potentially new inlets or modifying or relocating some of those existing inlets. You'll be required to desilt the pipes, do video inspection, and add cured in place pipe liners to the existing storm drain pipes within the project limits. And as I mentioned, going to the east, going from manhole to manhole to do the liner, it will extend over to Meridian and under the railroad tracks. Note that we're looking for innovative approaches to how to accommodate the inlet in the northeast return of the Nebraska Twiggs intersection, because we've got a lot of utilities out there and other items. As I mentioned, we're replacing the existing signals that are up there on span wires. We're going to put mast arm supports. We have a conceptual, along with the conceptual roadway design that we're providing as part of the RFP package. We also have prepared a conceptual signalization design, mast arm locations in the northeast and southwest corners of the intersection. We have already done utility clearance and SUE work in those locations to avoid conflicts with those mast arms. We also have obtained an approved design variation because we are having some diagonal mast arms on the project. So that has already been obtained and signed off by DOT. Included with the signals, there's the updating the pedestrian signals, and there are a lot of ITS communications for the signals with the City of Tampa and other agencies. So all that work will be included within the project. Sign structures and lighting. Part of the study by the city, the recommendations were to construct overhead signs to restrict westbound Twiggs Street traffic from turning left in Nebraska between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. This will allow more east-west flow along Twiggs. So there'll need to be overhead signs placed, looking for the design build team to come up with a design where to locate those and construct those the proper signage to restrict the left turns at that intersection. Also within the project limits, TECO will be replacing the existing lighting, which is on the strain poles. So they're working with us, looking at the different designs, but as of right now, it looks like they will be putting the lights on the mast arm poles. So you'll need to coordinate with TECO in developing your signalization plans to ensure that we can accommodate the lighting at the intersection. And finally, as part of the study, we're going to be installing 2 DMS signs to assist informing motorists that are coming in on Twiggs, especially on Monday and Tuesday mornings, for potential jurors. You can see there is one that goes to the east driveway to the parking garage, and then there's a second one that will go into the west driveway to the parking garage. Thanks. Little technical difficulty here. There we go. And there's your west driveway. So there'll be 2 DMS signs and the communication fiber that will need to be connecting those signs. This will also be part of the work on the design build project. Utilities. There are some major city and county communication facilities that are going to be impacted by the project. We have had preliminary utility work. We had a kickoff meeting for utility relocations. We have utility schedules in from all the affected utilities. All the work that can be, the relocations that can be done before construction begins are scheduled to be completed by September 1st of this year. So we've worked with the utilities. We're getting all those relocations done by September 1st. There are, however, some utility work that will need to be done as part of the project. For example, there's storm sewer manholes, sewer manholes, valve tops that will need to be adjusted with the adjustments in the pavement cross slope and the widenings along Twiggs. There is also a pole on the north side of Twiggs in front of Union Station that various utilities are on right now, and until they're on the existing strain pole. So until the new signal goes up and those are in place, that work will have to be done during the construction of the design build project. So we'll be providing all that information to you, but the goal and plan is for all the relocations prior to construction to be completed by September 1st of this year. We prepared utility relocation plans. These will be provided to you, showing all the, we've done a lot of SUE work and locates, and all that information will be provided to the design build teams. Design variations or exceptions, it will be the responsibility of the design build team to obtain and or modify any applicable variations or exceptions. As I mentioned, we already have an approved variation for the diagonal mast arm orientation. We also will need the design build team to look at the lateral offset for all the existing bridge piers along Twiggs. They will need to verify that the existing columns meet the 600 kip vehicular collision force requirements to retrofit if possible, and if retrofitting isn't possible, need to prepare a design variation exception for that situation. So that shall be a structural element during the design phase and potentially during construction that the design build team will need to address. Public involvement, as I mentioned, THEA will handle the public involvement with their staff, in-house and consultant. They'll be sending out weekly notices for lane closures, bi-weekly update emails. They'll maintain the project website and post updates on social media. We'll need the design build team to closely coordinate with THEA staff. We may need them to attend public meetings if that comes up, to provide a response, and we'll need them to provide responses to the PIO to address issues as any may happen. And we also will request that the design build team will proactively report any contact public coming up to them on the project site to THEA, so that we can address those issues and any other support that might be needed. But the main public involvement effort will be handled by THEA staff. We'll only need support, for potential displays, graphics from the design build team. During the procurement process, we'll be following the normal procedure for ATCs. Some of the things talking about in ATCs that we will not consider are listed there. Where, as I said, we're going to provide that additional lane. We want the widths and the limits as we've shown. We've taken a good look at any driveways and how we're going to allow changes there. So these are the things we won't consider, but all other aspects are open for innovation and potential improvements, changes by the design build teams. We will only have one round of ATCs, as this is a very limited length size of project. The written technical proposal, the design build teams will need to submit one original, 7 flash drives with the proposal in PD&E format, and 7 collated complete set of hard copies of the proposal and plans. You can see the requirements there. The project approach is a maximum of 10 pages, and that should include a schedule narrative for design and construction with bar charts. The critical path for the project shall be with no work at risk. The schedule shall show what it will take to do the project. Plans sheets shall be 11 by 17, and the TSPs shall be submitted along with the written technical proposal. As part of the price proposal, because there's a JPA between THEA and DOT, the signal replacement work, the prices need to be separate from the remaining work. So you'll need to submit those 2 prices, and which will be the total. We'll also need separate schedule values for that signal replacement work and for the remainder of the project. And when you invoice during design and construction, you will have a separate invoice for the signal replacement work, as that is being funded by FDOT. Our question and answer session that will follow up from the submittal of your technical proposal will be 60 minutes in length. No other handouts, electronic presentations will be allowed other than hard copies of your submitted written technical proposal and plans. THEA will provide questions approximately 24 hours prior to the Q&A to each design build team, but these will not necessarily be all the questions that you will be asked during that Q&A session. The scoring for the project, the letter of interest will be 20 points, and then the rest of the technical proposal, 10 points for design, construction, MOT, and your schedule, and then 40 points will be the price, where you can see the formula we're using will be each team's price divided by the lowest price submitted to come up with the total points out of 40 for the price proposal. And so there we'll go from there. Our procurement schedule. As I mentioned earlier, we will advertise this Friday, April 24th. The deadline to ask any questions, request for clarifications, will be Thursday, May 7th. If we need from any questions or clarifications, need to release an addendum to that RFP, it will be released by Monday, May 11th. And then the letters of interest will be due on Friday, May 16th. The TRC committee will meet and evaluate those letters of interest, and THEA will shortlist. THEA follows the Department of Management Services design build procedures, not DOT. So THEA will shortlist firms, probably 3 or 4, depending on the number of submittals and the quality of the letters of interest. On Friday, May 22nd, the shortlist will be posted, and then that shortlisting will be approved at the board meeting on Monday, June 8th. Then we'll look at, that should be June 9th for the posting of the board approval of the shortlist. And then firms will need to declare their intent to continue forward into the second phase of the procurement process by Friday, June 12th. And we will update the list of those firms proceeding on June 15th, if there are any changes. On Thursday, June 18th, we'll have a mandatory pre-proposal meeting for the firms. And then following that, we will have a utilities pre-proposal meeting. So we'll get the utilities in-house, and we can coordinate those utility relocations required during construction and get an update of where we stand on all the pre-construction utility relocation work. Friday, June 19th, by that date, the shortlisted firms will need to submit their request to participate in the ATC meeting and to submit a preliminary list of ATCs. We will hold those ATC meetings on Thursday, June 25th. Then those, following the results of those meetings, the ATC concept proposals will be due 2 weeks later on Thursday, July 9th. Any exceptions and variations and questions regarding the technical proposal will need to be submitted by Thursday, July 16th. THEA will provide responses by July 23rd. And then the technical proposals will be due on Thursday, July 30th. On Tuesday, August 11th, we will have our question and answer sessions. Following that will be the deadline on the Friday the 14th to submit the written clarification letter following the Q&A session. And then by Monday the 17th is the deadline to submit any questions prior to submission of your price proposal. On Friday, by Friday the 21st, the authority will post those responses to the website. And then on August 27th, Thursday, the price proposals are due. We will have a public meeting. Hopefully by then it won't be virtual, but we'll see. Announce the technical scores, open the price proposal, and posting of the final scores and bid prices. And then on September 8th will be our board meeting for the board to approve the selection committee and the posting of the award. So the anticipated award date is September 11th and execution of the contract by Friday, September 18th. Also to note is that we will be advertising for a CEI firm to perform the CEI work on this project. So that will be advertised next month. So be looking for that advertisement to come out if you're interested in performing the CEI on this project. As always, THEA's SBE policy, we encourage the use of small business enterprises. As many of you are aware, THEA's policy, they recognize SBs, DBs, MBs, if you're qualified with the DOT, Hillsborough County, Aviation Authority, Port Authority, City of Tampa, other entities. If you have any questions on that, get with Man Lee. But THEA has exceeded 15% SB efforts on the vast majority of their projects over the last several years, and looks to see to achieve that on this project also by the design build team. The design build stipend will be $25,000 per non-selected shortlisted firm. You know, and as long as you meet the eligibility requirements, including submittals of written technical proposal and the price proposal. And design build firms will need to fully execute with original signatures and have delivered to the authority within 1 week after the shortlist protest period for originals of the design build stipend agreement, which Manley will provide to you. For the procurement process, the technical review committee members from THEA will be the project manager, Judith Villegas, Bob Fry, the THEA's planning director, and Anna Quinones, another project manager with THEA. The technical advisors will be Sue Charzan, communications director for THEA, myself, Al Stewart, Dave Hubbard, Julian Gutierrez, and Dan D'Antonio of the GEC team. We also may have some other additional technical advisors as necessary for specialty areas such as geotechnical, lighting, survey, etc. Man, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Jim. As stated before, this presentation will be posted to our website by the end of the day on the procurement page. If you have an issue accessing it, please email me. And remember, the cone of silence remains in place for all of THEA staff once this is issued on Friday the 24th. And also, it includes THEA, FDOT, City of Tampa, HNTB, Tierra, Element, and Omni staff. So once again, if you have any questions regarding this presentation, please send me an email. And once the procurement has been issued, email me questions after that. And all those answers and questions will be posted on THEA's website and on DemandStar. Thank you. And without that, thank you very much for everybody joining us. Jim, if there's nothing else, then thank you for joining us. And again, we'll be posted on our website. And everybody have a good day. Thank you.